on Inside the Tournament, head coach of Newtown Pride FC, Coach Obasi. Welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot, mate. Thanks for having me.
Honestly, you're on the show because your style of play has been called controversial, boring. No one should watch it. I figured we'd start right there. Your style of play, the team style of play, has you as a TST champion and then semifinals the next year. So, to the haters, what do you say?
Wow, yeah, you know what it is? Cat Williams, famous comedian, he has a skit and he talks about if you don't have any haters, you're not doing enough, basically. And when you try and do something bold, you try and do something new, something kind of away from the status quo, of course there's going to be people who don't understand it. They want to be critical. But to be honest, I wear it as a badge of honor, a point of pride that we have a style of play that's so frustrating for some people that they want to boo, that they want to go on social media. And for me, it's part of the entertainment. I'd rather people be in the stands booing us than having no one in the stands. So, bring it on, I say.
I love it. Well, obviously, you're going to do whatever you can to win, which so far in TST, you guys have done just that by winning year one and then semifinals last year. But now, a lot of your guys from that championship team are getting poached by different teams. So, what's the recruiting strategy been like this year as we're now in year three of TST? There's more, teams involved. There's more money in the back end being thrown around. Like, what's your recruiting pitch to some of these guys to get them, in some cases, even just to stay on the team?
Yeah, you know what? It was a challenge. To be honest, a lot of the boys who left were players that I wasn't really going to bring back. For me, the key for us was Gabriel Costa, who for me is just a fantastic player and he's a really, really smart leader. So he was the one that I was like, I said to Matt Swanda, who's the owner of the team, I was like, hey, you got to get him back. Luis Morales, that was a tough one to swallow because he's a special player, lefty, shifty, so nice and such a good professional too. But really, outside of that, there was no one I was shedding so many tears for. It doesn't mean they're not great players, but you know, it just is what it is. When you don't win, you have to go back to the drawing board. And to be honest, a lot of the players we brought in this year were just us looking at the tournament, looking at the space, me thinking, all right, how are we going to play a little differently? Not so differently, maybe a few less boos, but there could still be some. And then saying, how do we pick players for that, to be effective in that space? Because TST is not like MASL in the space is so big and the ground is so fast. The grass is way faster. It's harder to put your foot on the ball. So I saw some of our players struggled, and the players who did really well for us are good players who are better at 11 aside. So that definitely impacted the recruitment process.
So, when you were in the MASL again this year, of course, you won Coach of the Year. Congratulations. Incredible stuff. When your games end, your matches end, are you going up to the other team and giving them like the LeBron, hey man, you should come play for me in TST this summer? Like are you actively recruiting and talking to guys during the
Uh,
MASL season about TST?
you know what? There are a few. Our league has, it's a professional league, so there's some strict rules as to what you can and can't say to players. But there's definitely some guys I had my eye on. And probably some of the guys who are under the radar a little bit because the way I look at football, or soccer, it's not exactly the same as everyone. Obviously, when you come up with a strategy like that, I'm looking for slightly different players, and each year it changes based on what I found out the year before. So yeah, there was a few players. The biggest thing I learned, even being a professional coach now, from year one of TST, year two is the personalities you bring. Like you're working with these players day in, day out for close to 3 weeks. So you really want that experience to be with people who want to love football. They're not going there because it's a party. They're not going there just because it's a fun holiday. They're going there because they love football or love soccer. They want to work. They want to learn the tactics. I'm big on tactics and video and stuff that could be boring if a player's not into that sort of thing. So that was a big part of when I recruit is getting to know the player as a person and then saying, okay, I can work with this player.
Well, this year for TST, you're in a pretty jammed up group, Group D. It's got you guys, obviously, and you have a championship under your belt and a semifinals run. dueling for Lincoln, who made it out of their group last year and beat some, big name teams along the way in, Dortmund and Bayern. But then you got, LCF Academy and Boca Dallas. Boca Dallas has some MASL guys, Marco Fabian. So like when you look at that group, what jumps out to you? What potential matchups maybe even scare Newtown Pride? Like what do you think of your group?
Yeah, you know what? Julian for Lincoln, obviously they played last year. Solid team, a team that we would expect to beat. It's just that's the reality. Of course, we prepare to win. The academy team, LFC Academy, don't know much about them, but again, a team that you'd like to think we should be beating. It's just the reality. And then Boca Dallas is the monster in the room because they have an unbelievable squad. I know close to 15 of their players. Um, Marco Fabian was one of my players on my team last year, maybe the best striker of a ball I've ever seen with my own eyes. They have close to 10 players from Chihuahua who just won the MASL, best team in the league for me for the last 3 years. So, yeah, they're a team who, we have to respect the quality that they have. They have Luis Morales, Sebas, who was with us last year, Sanchez, who's maybe the best player in the MASL league right now, top three. Um, they got a sick team. They got a really, really good team, and that's going to be a great game. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw them again, maybe in the final, because whoever finishes top of that group, which hopefully it's us, the other team is going to be on the other side of the draw, and now we might meet again for the rematch. So I'm calling that now, but let's have a look.
Wow. So you're calling that right now. You're calling that two teams from Group D will play in the championship. I like that call out. Let's stick with those call outs. Who else do you want to call out? The celebrities? Who do you see at TST and you kind of just you know
Oh
give them a
yeah,
look and go the other way?
yeah. There's the Nani FC team. That was a game we should have beat those guys. It's not in football. I'm not that coach. I'm not even that player who's like, oh, we should have won that game. Blah blah. Football is a game of mistakes. It's a game of small margins, and we only went into target score time 1-0 up. So that's on us. But when I watched that game back, it was our best game of the tournament. We dominated them. We limited their chances. They were running it on fumes. We made a mistake down the stretch, and they got Ricardinho and Nani, two legends in the game, who punished us. But that was one, after the game, they're saying, we deserve that. That's karma, blah, blah, blah. And I just remember thinking, boys, you guys got so lucky. You guys got so lucky. We will see you next year. And I hope we do. I hope we do. There's no bad blood. It's just we're gonna come there and we're gonna beat you. That's just the reality of it.
How
So
about
yeah,
Rick?
Nani FC, that's the one.
How about Ricardinho though, man? What a player.
Oh mate, it's funny because he was my favorite futsal player, and I argue with Brazilians all the time because he's Portuguese. Falcao is considered the best futsal player of all time, even by Ricardinho. And I said to him, I'd say to him, for me, he's the best futsal player of all time. He said to me in person at the tournament, he goes, "No, Falcao is, but I appreciate it. I got a photo with him, mate. You can't not love the guy. So nice, has so much time for everyone. Was still fantastic on the field. Oh my goodness, what a player! Like, yeah, I couldn't speak more highly of him. But yeah, hopefully he's back. He's with them, and then then we can have a different conversation after that game.
Well, last question for you. Year three of Newtown Pride. What can we expect? What should we be on the lookout for? And do you have a message to TST, the world, about what you guys are coming to try and do again this year?
Yeah, you know what? We're coming to win, of course. Like I think we could have. I think I don't want to be biased, but I think we could have won last year. I thought we were the best team in the tournament, best prepared. That's just the reality of how I see it, and I'm quite critical of my teams. But yeah, I think bring the haters out, bring the boos back. If you're booing, it probably means you're winning. Because teams ain't booing teams that are losing. So, I enjoy it all. I think it's a great experience, and yeah, we'll put fans in the seats, to see us play and see us win.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show. Looking forward to seeing you and the boys back at TST and some bold predictions in here, but I love it. what else can you expect from a team who's won a championship and basically made it back there again last year? So looking forward to seeing what's in store for year 3.
Thanks a lot, mate. I appreciate the time.